Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Mindset. Wow, this particular episode is a very, very interesting episode, well, at least to me, because it really looks like there's this whole new sector that's emerging in the Atropa ecosystem. So today we're going to be looking at what's happening in Treasury Bill, and then also towards the end, I'm going to be doing my pDAI price predictions for the next leg up. So first of all, Treasury Bill. So Rahel created Treasury Bill, and at the Amsterdam Pulsechain tour said that the target for Treasury Bill is $1. So this is the way that I see it. Maria Rahel's $1 stablecoin. And so what I want to show you is one of the most insane ratios that I've seen so far on Pulsechain. And this happens to be with Treasury Bill and to Fed. So Fed. So in fact, it's so insane, it almost seems like it's a mistake, because realistically they should be 1-to-1. And at the moment, the ratio is sitting at 1 to what was it, 1 to 1,311 or something like this. It's absolutely insane. So this is a continuation in a way also from yesterday's video about ratios, and I touched very briefly on Luke, one of the tokens that can be minted 1-to-1 with Treasury Bill and Luke. So I'm going to go through a few of those today, and I'm going to look at that relationship and again why they should be 1-to-1. So finally, as I said, I'm going to go into my price prediction process for pDAI, and I'm going to be showing you what I used to help me pick the last two tops on the day for pDAI. So if you're looking to accumulate more pDAI, this could be some really good information to take away. But of course, it's not financial advice. It's just, obviously, that was what happened in the past. Things could be very, very different this time around because the past is no indication of the future. So let's get into it. So first of all, I'm going to start with this tweet. So this was thanks to Hexinky. So Hexinky shared this with me in DMs, and basically at the time of creating this posts, this is the Treasury Bill and to Fed chart. So this is the ratio between Treasury Bill and Fed. And so at the time, it was 1 to 6,598. So in other words, for every one Treasury Bill, I could get 6,598 Fed. And so what actually caused this massive candle is, as HexUG's pointed out here, I've heard this a few times. So good morning, HexUG. Also, good morning, Puffy. So HexUG says, it looks to me that a big Fed holder sold 5.75 million HOD for 7K, which dropped the price by 50%. HOD, do you mean like HODX or HOD? What's HOD? Is HOD HODX? Yeah, there you go. So if that was a massive candle there, that's pretty insane. So he has now sold over 200 million HOD, but owns over 5 billion. So HOD, what are we referring to as HOD here? Sorry, the low liquidity means a 99% price drop. Yeah, which one's HOD, man? HexUG, is it an opportunity? Who knows? But thanks to you, I've picked up some just in case. So yeah, we don't know what's actually going to go on here. We don't actually know what is going to go on here. So it's good to see these guys who I've been chatting with today. So what's going? I'm just going to say a quick good morning. So good morning, Zella. What's going on, Blockhead? So Fed is a reasonably new launch. So I will bring some of that up as well. I know you can mint Fed with T-bill, but can you mint T-bill with Fed? No, HexUG, you cannot. You cannot. So how did the ratio is not 1-to-1 anymore? So Zone, obviously that happened with this big sell, and I'll show you why it should be 1-to-1. So should in quotation. So good morning, Clintrons. Zone, thanks for confirming. That's a shame. Amazing ratio for Fed. FOD, not HOD, sorry. Okay. So basically, they sold for 5.75 million HOD for 7K. Damn, 7K. That's wow. All right, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. So that's what caused this gigantic, ridiculous candle. And at its peak, we'll go to that in just a moment. So. Then due to the burn mint of Treasury Bill, so the dynamics with Fed, this is an absolute insane ratio right now. So realistically, it should be 1-to-1. So if you see through this, so the link for this affection.ic, I think it's mint.aff.icu. The link is in the description, but I'm also going to go through that in just a moment. It should be 1-to-1. So you're basically burning 1,000 Treasury Bill, and then you mint 1,000 Fed. So I'm going to show you why this ratio seems to be very, very important. And obviously, based on this, it's running at a loss. So you wouldn't burn your treasury bill to mint your Fed, because you're way better off selling your treasury bill for Fed at the minute. So right now, this is the swap. If you believe in $1 treasury bill, then this is just ridiculous. So at that time, it was, damn it, I put in, and I forgot to buy. I think I did buy, but I think basically maybe I didn't press buy. I just showed the ratio, posted the tweet, and I think I might have pressed buy, but I didn't actually check that it went through, and it didn't actually go through. So when I went to check now, the ratio was a lot less. So I was a bit bummed out about that, but okay, no problem. I still got like 600,000 tokens for the 500,000 for the 500. So okay, why? So first of all, treasury bill. So let's look at what treasury bill is. So treasury bill is backed by teddy bear. So if you go through the treasury bill Telegram, all the big buyers are coming from teddy bear. So teddy bear backs treasury bill. Now, this is actually probably one of the better rated quote unquote stable coins. So Maria's target in Amsterdam for Atropa was $7.50. For teddy bear, it was like an up arrow. So basically there is no target. So infinitely up. And treasury bill was $1. $1 is his target. So this is his version of a stable coin. And so in terms of multiplication, so I mean, 0033 at the time of doing this video. So perfect, right? So it's a 3x, so it's a plus 200% to 1 cent. It's a 30x to 10 cents, and it's a 302x to the dollar. So for me, just buying treasury bill is, if you believe Maria knows what he's doing and you believe in what he's doing, then this is a steal. This is better value than pDAI, but it's not better value than XUSD. So XUSD is still the best value stablecoin narrative of the stablecoin kind of narrative, but treasury bill is still an insane, like it's just insane. So for me, it's like it makes sense to kind of maybe dip your toes into all of them if you believe in this kind of P stables narrative that's going on. So this is treasury bill. So treasury bill, just showing the story to the $1 mark. So it's exceptional. So why should treasury bill be one-to-one with Fed? So first of all, obviously, just like I showed, so this mint.aff.icu, you can go through all the different things to mint here. So for example, on here, there's the affection ecosystem. So you can have a look on here to see what is going to be profitable to mint affection. But in this case, I won't go through all of that. I'm just going to go through the Atropa through treasury bill. So Atropa, you'll be able to see. So this is teddy bear 9. So the kind of things you're going to need to mint a teddy bear 9. So I think at the moment, I'll just show you this just so you can see that some things on here are very, very profitable, but I don't think anybody actually has this amount of tokens. So if I was a whale and I had this much teddy bear, I had one of these upside down R's, I had 9 bullions, I had 500 UL, and I had 1,000 of whatever this token is, or 100 of whatever this token is, I can mint one teddy bear 9. And for minting one teddy bear 9, I'm basically getting a $20,000 profit. So it's going to cost me 242,000. So that's the cost of all of these tokens. And it's going to return 263,000, which is going to give me a $20,000 profit. So if you had those tokens, anyone who's got these tokens, it's going to be like, I would say there's very, very, very few people who actually have these tokens. And if they do, they'd mint, as soon as they mint that, then all these tokens get burnt and it would mint one teddy bear 9. Then you could sell the teddy bear 9 for the profit. So now treasury bill. What's actually making this extremely interesting? So one of these is reserve TE. So Fed. So for me, this is like, again, Maria seems to be replicating all the instruments, or this is his own words, replicating all the instruments of a financial system, or all the plays on finances. So the traditional financial system is being replicated on the blockchain. So treasury bill is like his dollar, his US dollar, and then Fed is like his Federal Reserve. So basically, you would burn treasury bill to mint the Fed. And obviously at the minute it's 1-to-1. So by the burning to the minting, you would burn 1,000 to mint 1,000. Now, what makes this very, 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 very interesting is obviously several weeks ago, I believe it was here, when you can see this gigantic fat candle. This is when, let's zoom in. This is when Maria minted a shitload of treasury bill. I think it was like 7 million treasury bill. And then he started distributing the treasury bill out. So he minted 7 million treasury bill and then started buying up other things. And it didn't really have a massive effect on the price. It went down a little bit, but it didn't have like a massive effect. So then he would have started buying up other tokens. I can't remember what it was at the time. I'd have to go back and have a look at it. I can't remember. I would have done a video on it, but I can't remember it now off the top of my mind. Or maybe it was this day, the 18th, or maybe that was just the day that Maria sold stuff. Anyway, it's one of these massive candle days. I think it was the 13th of December, but it could also have been the 18th of January. I think it was the 13th of December. In any case, what is this actually, the implications of this? As we know, Maria is, or we believe Maria is a benevolent whale. Like, this is his life's work. He's been doing this for, well, since the launch of Pulsechain. He's got over 300 tokens. He's working nonstop. This was all on the testnet. And he was talking about this like 8 years ago or 7 years ago at some university where he was talking about dysnomia. So this appears to be Maria's life work. So for me, this is not an elaborate rug. It could well be. It could well be like the most hardworking rug in history. Like someone as smart as Maria, I don't know why you would do this when you could just saw a tweet today that Somi shared where basically there's a guy on Solana who's made like hundreds of rug pulls, and he's like doing these rug pulls. He's created some kind of bot that basically launches tokens and rugs it just for like a few dollars, and he's made like millions and millions of dollars this way. Wouldn't you rather just do something like this with a hell of a lot less work than all of this crap? Like, this is a lot more work. For me, this is like Maria gives us these opportunities to help us become like a part of the ecosystem. So how am I looking at this? I'm looking at this, that at any minute, this is speculation, Maria could mint a whole bunch of treasury bill, sell the shit out of it, and bring the ratio of treasury bill to Fed back to 1-to-1. So you can see, why is it 1-to-1? So it's clear that it's hovering around the 1-to-1. The reason why it's hovering around the 1-to-1 is because you can burn 1 to mint 1. So really the market price is valued at 1-to-1. But obviously, because of the way that the market's interacting with it, it's not currently at 1-to-1. Somebody did a massive sell of the Fed, which caused this, like, honestly, I thought it was a mistake. When I opened the chart looked like this, and I was like, is this a mistake? Like, the candle goes off, it was off the chart. And I was going like this, and I was like, okay, something's wrong here, because I went like this a few times, and I was like, okay, something's wrong. But I didn't keep going up. So I went all the way up to 137,120. So in other words, if you swapped to one treasury bill, you would have gotten 137,120 Fed at the very, very top. So what I've done here to make this like easy for my mind to understand is I've created this 1-to-1 line. And I know with this particular ratio, if it's up here, that I'm selling my treasury bill for the Fed. Now, it hasn't been often, and it hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened. So here, for example, it dipped below. So on Christmas Day, there you go. Could have been a present from Maria. So basically, the value of Fed was higher in ratio to the value of treasury bill. So when that was the case, then instead of selling your treasury bill, you wouldn't do that, because when it's down here, when it was like 0.05, you wouldn't sell it, because if you sold one treasury bill, you would get half a Fed. So instead, you would burn the treasury bill to mint the Fed, and then you would buy back the treasury bill to bring the ratio back up to 1-to-1, because you know that anything below here is a steal, because anything below here can get burned, can get mint. Anything below here, you would burn your treasury bill to mint it like instantly. So anytime that this happens, that it goes below, it very quickly goes back up. So you can see not often do you get the opportunity below. As a matter of fact, very, very rare does it happen. So anything above is like a steal. So whether or not there's going to be some other kind of market dynamics or ecosystems built around the Fed that's going to push the ratio in favor of the Fed, there is something to be said about that, just FYI. And I will very briefly go into that, but I'm going to go into a deeper dive of that in another episode. I have touched on it in a previous episode, and I'll go deeper into it in another episode. It deserves its own episode, but now I just want to do just this one step. So at the minute, obviously, this is what the ratio is. So Treasury bill to Fed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get out my electric guitar and I'm going to play guitar for the next 20 minutes while we just watch this. Bam, 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 bam. And this is what Maria would do. So fast forward 20 minutes, and this is what Maria does with his with his YouTube. So I'm waiting for when he does a Treasury bill and Fed. I'm surprised he didn't do one for today. Maybe, I mean, if he was the one that did the sell, maybe he would have done this and maybe, hey, this is an opportunity. So yeah. Obviously, it got sold down. So this is very interesting. This is definitely something that I want to keep my eye on. Helsinki also mentioned to me that Fed to FDIC is like another insane ratio. And this is a key part of the alpha. So just while we're on it, so the Atropa ecosystem, new contracts. So remember when I started touching on this and we started looking into this, all of this. So where's the Fed? I think maybe have I gone past to Fed? So basically Treasury bill is the parent to the Fed. So in other words, damn it. So basically, all right, let me just, so we can just look it up. And someone has paid for this to be like high up on Deck Screener, which is quite interesting. So let's just bring up the Fed. All right, so okay, so here is when he created it. So December 16. Oh, December 16. Wasn't this like a key date over here? So December. Okay, all right. So I think, yeah. I think maybe that's even correct as well. Even if we go to, if this is where it's really good to have these to do your own little block exploration. So let's have a look here. Atropa new LPs. If I go to the Fed here, just to see when he's created these LPs. So January 7, so 16. So the first one that he did was with HotX. Interesting. On the 16th, did he ever make a bond? He didn't even do a bonding with Treasury bill. So somebody must have beat him to Treasury bill and the Fed. So whoever made that first, kudos to you. Just double checking. Yeah, it's not here. It's not here. Interesting. So, okay, all right. Anyway, so you can kind of have a look at the dates that Maria's created these. So back to this for a second. So then the Fed, you're burning Treasury bill to mint Fed. But then there's like this kind of ladder system. So today what we're going to go through is these. So there was these tokens. So we got Mufti, we got Tabor, we have Goshen, Ministry, ABC, N, ICE, Luke, which we had a look at yesterday, and Visa. So these first ones, they are all in the same way to the Fed. You mint them 1-to-1. So you burn Treasury bill to mint those 1-to-1. Now, this Visa is, you would burn the Fed to mint the Visa. I think you burn 24 Fed to mint 1 Visa. And then you have, so we skip past these. I don't think they do anything. So remember we went through this in an episode. So Token Factory 43B, Token Factory 43B. So this was like his V1 or V2, I think. And then this one here, when we start getting to, I think it should be the first one, should be FDIC. Somewhere. Token Factory 43B. Oh my gosh, he creates so many stuff. Here we go. Oh, no, interview. Here we go. FDIC. Token Factory 4354. So it's a different token factory. So now these, the parent to this, it's the same principle as burning the Treasury bill to mint the Fed. Now it's burning the Fed to mint FDIC. And then when we looked into this, I think we worked our way from up to down, but I'd say it's exactly the same. So I think then this would be you're burning FDIC to mint DFM. Then you're burning DFM to mint parade. So then there's this whole list of tokens that goes down to yeah, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. So now there's all these different tokens which have like a parent token above them. So it creates this whole market out of nothing, which is very, very interesting because perhaps in the future, the relationship of all of these tokens with Treasury Bill and Fed is going to make this kind of a ratio where we are going to see situations where the price can go below. So basically, this is just going to create a market like this where people burn and mint, and it's going to have some sort of relationship here. And so somebody also, Hex Reflections, so he's going to, I'm hopefully going to be doing an Atropa movement video this weekend. So it'll be Sunday afternoon, Brisbane time. And he was talking about this as being like balance sheets, which I thought was very interesting. So if we have the Fed and then you've got the Federal Reserve balance sheet. So if all these list of tokens are like the balance sheets, then it's creating this market, which is hopefully by design going to be keeping Treasury Bill locks to Fed 1-to-1. So for the time being, this seems like a great speculation because, again, if you believe in, basically, if you believe in this going to $1 and you're swapping one for 1,113, then when this gets down to 1-to-1, or if it gets down to 1-to-1, you can swap that back into Treasury Bill. So basically, for like a few cents, you can end up getting like 127 now. So really think about it like that. You'd be able to swap that back into Treasury Bill, which can potentially be valued at the dollar. So yeah, very, 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 very interesting. So obviously the things that kind of threw me off is the supply. So 123 billion. So I look at this and go, well, pDAI supply is like, the pDAI supply is like 20 billion. And it's like impossible to, it makes it like, the whole like narrative around pegging it, you do need liquidity for it. So to get this to like $1 is kind of seems unreasonable. I don't know what the Treasury Bill supply is actually. I should really have a look at this. Maybe this is a good opportunity to have a look at this. But obviously, even though Maria can mint this, it can be burnt in like half a dozen to a dozen different kinds of ways, which is very interesting. So let's actually bring up the Treasury Bill supply, because again, this could just be like, I mean, the whole Atropa ecosystem is just ghost liquidity. It's not, a lot of it is not real liquidity. So this could end up being like some sort of algorithmic stablecoin that gets to $1 with all this fake backed liquidity behind it that will end up keeping it at $1. So yeah, this has got 134 billion tokens, but heaps of it can be burnt now. So for example, well, probably not at the minute, but maybe in the future, you might get to a point where you're burning like tens of millions or hundreds of millions at a time. So maybe that kind of process will happen before it gets to the dollar. I don't really know. Maybe it's going to be a situation where there's going to be so much of these tokens in liquidity that the amount that's in liquidity is going to actually back it. I don't really know. Maybe this is only supposed to get to a cent. I don't really know. So it just depends how much you trust Maria, but it almost seems like very, very hard and almost too good to be true if you ended up getting some of these ratios. But yeah, by the blockchain, by the code, it should be 1-to-1. So now, as we move down that list, so this is the mint.aff, so this is the Fed. Now there's all, I'm just going to go through these first few. So obviously if you mint at the moment, you can see you're running at a loss. So you're losing heaps. I mean, look at that. You're losing 3.3. Nice. Wow, that's quite fascinating, is it not? So then we're just going to have a look at Mufti. So Mufti, again, same thing with Treasury Bill. All of these are 1-to-1. One thing that you can do here as well, so if you ever do want to, if for example, this ratio ever does get below here, you can adjust these numbers. So you can enter here. So at the moment it's set to 1,000, but you can change that. So then you just approve it. And then, yeah, then you would just approve it and mint. So at the moment, again, this is also running at a loss. So now why is this running at a loss? Because what have we got here? So this one here, what have we got here? So, this was the Fed. So before we get that far, I want to just have a look at the liquidity setup for the Fed. So the Fed has 65,000 in liquidity. So there you go. FDIC is its biggest liquidity pool, 27,000 in liquidity. So 5.3 billion Fed with 309 billion FDIC. The next biggest pool is with Atropa, HotX, B2B. I don't know what this is, but I see this in Sonny's pub all the time. I don't know what this is. This is Bar, Pulsechain, somebody's dysnomia, tickers, babies, Treasury Bill, so on and so forth. So Treasury Bill is actually like quite a small liquidity pool. I mean, it should be a lot bigger to be honest. And then Mufti and Tabor Visa. So, all right, just wanted to have a look at that. Cord. So shout out to the Ord and Cord crew. I know that they're always wanting me to do videos, so I'm mentioning it, guys. All right, so now let's have a look at the same thing with Mufti. So first, when you bring up these charts, I think it ends up showing it like your chart's going to look different to mine. It's probably going to look like this when you first bring it up. It'll have Mufti first, and then it's showing it in USD. So what I want to do is I want to make it make sense in my brain compared to the minting and the burning. So I can create a chart. So I invert the pair. So I get Treasury Bill first because the Treasury Bill is the one that I'm burning. So I want that to come first. And then I'm showing it in Mufti. And then I've got my one-to-one line. So I know any time that it's above this one line, selling the Treasury Bill is more valuable than minting, obviously. And that's why obviously we can see here that you're running at a loss. Only very briefly was it below, and only did it touch there once. So what's really interesting about these is if these become some kind of balance sheet, nobody has done anything with any of these. Like there's like no liquidity in 645k liquidity. What? Treasury Bill and Mufti. What? 645k liquidity? Maybe. Wow. Okay. All right. So there we go. Made a fool out of me. Is this Mufti? Yeah, Mufti. Treasury Bill, 331k. So I guess it's kind of wigging out because obviously, yeah, it's got 98 million Treasury Bill in there and 101,000. So 331. Wow. So this is actually going to be extremely hard to move the price of it. So yeah, I guess people have done a lot with Mufti. So Mufti might be one that it's like, okay, well, that's kind of tricky. But the interesting thing about these is, okay, so this is just me spitballing ideas here, but obviously now there's this big route of liquidity here. So for example, here, okay, yep, I can sell one Treasury Bill for Mufti and I'd be getting 1.03 Mufti. So it's going to be very difficult for me with like 1,000 Treasury Bill to sell that down. But where this can be interesting is, say the next one down the line was Tabor. So how much liquidity does Tabor have? So Tabor's got 1k liquidity and I can sell Treasury Bill for 1.45. So that's interesting. So I could sell that down, for example, like I could basically, it's like this whole new world that hasn't been explored yet in the Atropa ecosystem. So now we've got, so this is Tabor. Treasury Bill is its biggest liquidity pool, 1,000. So you could basically start to control that liquidity pool. So if you had a lot of Treasury Bill, you could say, right, I'm gonna add to this liquidity. I'm gonna buy like a little bit of Tabor, and I'm gonna add into the liquidity, and then I'm gonna keep selling the Tabor till it gets down to like 1-to-1. You could do that, for example. There's that upside down R again. So you could do that, or you might end up going like, okay, cool. So it's got a Mufti. It's got a thing with Mufti. So then you could go, all right, well, I'm going to sell this down, and then I'm going to swap that back into the Mufti, and then take out my liquidity that way through this big pool. So there's just like all these different avenues and pathways that you can start to explore within the Atropa ecosystem. And again, because Maria can just mint unlimited Treasury Bill, to the best of my knowledge, he's the only one that can mint Treasury Bill. He might just one day go, you know what? I'm going to create a market in this. I'm going to just mint a shitload of Treasury Bill, and I'm going to dump that treasury bill into the Fed, and then it's going to push all this liquidity into the Fed, which can then go out into the rest of those other tokens that were on that balance sheet. Or he could also do that with these tokens, with some of these tokens, and start fattening this up. I remember in one video, he was talking about Tubble as maybe a community thing, but obviously none of us have done anything with it. I think maybe I made a video, but yeah, I didn't really do anything with it. So I don't know if anyone else has done anything with it, but you can see obviously none of these have any liquidity in them. So no one's doing anything. So again, if you believe then that treasury bill is going to $1, then there's so many different avenues and pathways that you could connect all of this together and start building into just this system with tiny amounts of liquidity, build up your liquidity positions, and then filter it out through some of the other different avenues. So there's just it's basically just arbitrage. It's arbitrage on top of arbitrage on top of arbitrage on top of arbitrage on top of arbitrage with all of these different pathways within the ecosystem. So definitely look into the token suppliers. So obviously, if we go back to the Fed has 544 holders. Wow. So somebody owns 50% of the supply, which is 50 billion. This is where it just seems unreasonable to me. This is where it just seems unreasonable, where it's just what? Look at this person's wallet, 33 and then 111. That's a sick wallet. That's the sickest wallet that I've ever seen. That's the coolest wallet that I've ever seen. I would be so stoked to have a wallet that was that. So yeah, basically, yeah, there's people with a lot of supply. So yeah, this is where it just seemed I don't really know what's going to happen here. Maybe again, obviously, then I said, you can burn the Fed for FDIC. So maybe then, even though this person has 50 billion, they might end up burning a crap load of it into FDIC and then just kind of spreading it out through the system that way. I don't really know how it's going to work. Maybe there'll be some other thing that Maria introduces where, basically a way of hyper burning. So in the same way that you have the Fed, which is 24 Fed to 1 Visa, it might be something like that, where it's you burn a billion Fed and you get this token which is worth 1,000, for example, and then that would help bring all of these levers getting pulled will help ratchet up treasury bill to the dollar. So for me, I'm just looking at this going, okay, well, Maria's target was $1. There's clearly something happening here. There's clearly this relationship with all these different tokens, and the interplay of these relationships is going to create something very, very fascinating. It's created a market that's there, that's waiting, that's dormant, that no one is really touching. So yeah, I would definitely, I'm definitely going to be exploring a lot more of this. So this is the first part. In another episode, I'm going to go deeper into basically going down this whole this balance sheet, so to speak. So I'm gonna go through that process. So because they actually aren't on here, so those ones aren't on here. So on this particular page, it's only the ones where you can burn. So all these you burn treasury bill for, and this one you burn the Fed for. So you can see here burning the Fed. So all the other ones, that balance sheet, they're not on here. So you actually have to do them manually. So I have done some of them in the past with that scgui.aff.icu, I think it is. But I'll go into that in more detail in another episode, because that's I need to explore that and see what's actually going, bring all the ratios up. Yeah, it's just not something I'm going to do now. So, okay. All right. So I don't know. What do you guys think? So I'm just going to go through some of these comments here. So what's going on? Hey, Yeeta Sink. Yeeta, is that Matt Yeeta? What's going on, Mudjo? Asian Quant, what's going on? I don't think I've ever seen you in here before. So yep. So is not what dumped 99% price. You don't think so, Zone? What do you think it was? 9. Hey, Stephen, I have a question that's a little irrelevant to this topic. What do you think about pWeth? Do you think it's good to buy it since it's really cheap? Please give me your thoughts on it. Thanks. pWeth is 1-to-1 with Pulsechain. So no, I don't. I mean, The only scenario where I think it's good to buy PWETH is if you want to create liquidity without losing any of your pulse chain. So really, like, people are talking about single-sided staking for pulse chain. Well, it kind of already exists. You basically just swap your it's coded, it's hard coded that pulse chain is swappable one-to-one with PWETH. So you could swap half of your pulse chain for PWETH, put it in a V2 liquidity position, and you're just going to get yield. You're going to get yield out of that just through arbitrage. So, like, I don't know, if you're just sitting on a big bag of pulse chain and you're waiting for single-sided staking, like, screw single-sided staking. You've already got a mechanism that does that for you, which is probably going to get you more yield. So the 5.75 million sell dumped at 75%, and then he sold another 200 million. 200 million. Wow. Yeah, and look, that might be the kind of thing which actually makes these ratios equalize, where basically, I don't know, like, the whales are just going to have to dump. So what's going on, Jesu? I believe as well, Zone. I believe as well. What's up, Hexicans? Good morning, fam. BP Crypto, what's going on? Everything Thailand today. Garbage. Oh, why garbage everything Thailand today? When people sail and then run, we stay in DCA. I believe and succeed. Richard Hart, rewards, reels. I saw that a single guy dumped 7K Fed when slippage would not handle it. At that moment, a $30 was 1 to 2% slippage. Nice. So many doggoles in the treasury, bro. Big Daddy Doggo, you say. What's going on, Kimbo Slice? What's going on, Orez? And you commit FDIC with Fed. There you go, Zone. There you go. So that's a whole branch. So it's something I'm going to do a whole video on that because I think it's definitely worth exploring. So I want to set it all up first. So hi, Stephen. Just catching up on the stream right now, but thought I should mention that the supply of Fed jumped exponentially on GoPulse around 1 hour after your tweet. It takes time to update. Interesting. So that might be the way that GoPulse reads it, because there's no, unless people were minting Treasury Bill, the supply shouldn't have increased. So unless anyone was minting it, then the supply shouldn't have increased. What's going on, TS Pedro? My pleasure, VKH. My pleasure, Ranza. My absolute pleasure. So, all right. So I'll leave that. Let's leave that part of it. Oh, actually, yeah. So, okay, I did set this up earlier before. So, yeah, I did this with Tubble because no one's done this with Tubble. So I just did a small little buy with Tubble. So you can see the ratio now of, so you can see here, like, it's 1 to 1.45. You can see that on the chart here. So it's 1 to 1.45. So I think I bought 10. There we go. So basically 10. I could enable this. I could add that into liquidity, and then I could just buy into my liquidity with Treasury Bill. So this is the beautiful thing. I could buy into my liquidity, bring the price back down to 1-to-1. And what have I done? I've put tokens into liquidity. So I'll have more tokens by buying into my supply. And the logic of the code is that they should be 1-to-1. Obviously, the market and the dynamics of the market means that they're not at 1-to-1. But my expectation is probably Maria's got this all worked out in some way, shape, or form, that in the future, they'll all be like close to 1-to-1, and then there'll just be like a market of arbitrage that exists between them. So yeah, if you want to get into this, if you want to provide the liquidity, this is obviously how you do it. You just go trade, liquidity, add liquidity, and just add into the V2 liquidity, because that's where you get the volume of the rewards. So there you go. So then it's as simple as that, adding Treasury Bill and Tubble together. So you could go along and, yeah, just do that with all of these. So I only just did the first few. I won't go through every single one of these, but they're all probably going to be the same. So to be perfectly honest, I was quite surprised by Mufti that I had so much liquidity. I would definitely go along and check all of these, but yeah, it would probably be, I would imagine, the same scenario as Tubble. And so again, just to reiterate, in order to get this, I put Treasury Bill first, and then I put the token that you would mint second. That makes it really easy for my mind, because as I brought up these two ratios, for example, they were all different. So sometimes it had like Mufti first, sometimes it had Treasury Bill first. So I like it to be ordered, because otherwise it just kind of scrambles my brain. So I like it all ordered, have all these lines. So all of these I know, yep, selling Treasury Bill when it's above. burning it and then minting when it's below. Really easy, really easy for my brain to connect. All right. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but for me, I think it's very interesting and something definitely worth exploring. So yeah, and look, hey, I mean, even like, gosh, even if you didn't wait for one-to-one, like even if you didn't wait for one-to-one, you like if somebody got this at the if somebody got this at the top and they like if somebody got it at the top and they swap now, they would have a hell of a lot more treasury bill. So yeah, this is also where the ratios are pretty awesome. So okay. Wow. Okay. So people are really getting into it now. This is at 1 to 1,000. So all right. So now pDAI tops. So let's go into this because it's something that I've wanted to talk about for a while. I have spoken about it quite a lot, but maybe not in much detail. So first, I want to just show you. So this is what I mean. So you can see here the pulse chain to DAI, then you have to always invert it. It's a pain. It didn't used to be like this. Then one day it just flipped, and this is when Deck Screener just started wigging out. So the way that I estimated the top. So first I estimated the tops with the Fibonacci. So on the side here we have, where's the fib? So fib retracement. So all I did, I think I hold control so I can get to the top, the very top, and I think the bottom. I don't think at the time I didn't have this to predict the top. I just thought, well, the 1 cent mark is like, it's just this big psychological level. We had this massive run up that went for, how long did it go for? It went for, actually, you know what? I'm just going to go into full mode with this. We had this massive run up that went from basically the start of December to, it went for 3 months. So we had a run up on pDAI that went for 3 months. So I was like, a 3-month run is pretty good. It's pretty good. This run also went from June to July, August. This was a 3-month run. So the fact that this was a 3-month run, then this was a 3-month run. It was a 1 cent mark. So I remember being like, because I distinctly recall being like, I'm pretty sure this is the top. But I was like, I test it. I don't know. I don't have the conviction. I say I'm not a TA guy, but I say that because I think I don't want to give people expectations that, oh, like following my price calls. But to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty damn happy with some of these calls because they seem pretty damn good, to be honest. So I remember like testing it in certain chats, and I remember Zach being like, "No, it's not the top. Don't say that. Don't put that energy out into the universe." And I was like, "Bro, we've just run up for like 3 months. So 1 cent, we might have had this candle first, and then I said it. I said, I think that was the top. And then it ended up going all the way down. I tried to call the bottom. I didn't call the bottom. And then I got criticized for that because I said, oh, hey, I think this is the bottom. And I came out and was like, I'm going to declare it to the universe. And I got pied on my face because I was wrong and it kept going down. And then people were upset with me. So sorry to those. Well, sorry, but not sorry. You clicked the buttons. So then what did I do? Then I knew this fib tool from Access Alive and Moon King. So then I had a look at this and was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so basically, if you go from, you draw the fib from the top to the bottom, so the high to the low, it gave me a top that was between the 2.618 and the 3.618. So what did I do? I just did exactly the same. So then when I was predicting the top for this one, I did exactly the same. So I drew that in there. And so what did that give me? That gave me this kind of a region in here. So it was between like 2.3 to, well, gee whiz, like 3.33. So I think I said 3.33 because I do it for the culture, right? It ended up being like 3.5 cents or whatever it was. So it was very, very close. Plus, it went for about 3 months. So I knew like it's gone for about 3 months. It's just had like, I mean, like green candle after green candle after green candle after green candle. Twitter was exploding. So first there was this. This is what I used to help me determine, approximately where it's going to be. This is my approximation. So I use this as an approximation. Then I'm reading the market as I'm going. So that's when I'm starting to look at all my charts of liquidity flows. That's when I started to look at Atropa to die, down to Atropa. I'm looking at Twitter, like what's actually happening on Twitter. Like you can see clearly when everyone's going crazy, people are boasting about pDAI, everyone's talking about pDAI, Ivan on Tech starts buying pDAI. Like these are classic top signals, euphoric top signals. Also measuring my own internal state of mind. So I was also feeling ridiculously euphoric. I was feeling the same kind of euphoria as I was feeling when my Hex portfolio hit the 7 figures before, like it hit 7 figures on my birthday. And then from the very next day, it started going down. So the top was my birthday. Whoa. Legal TSFI. All right, the Don legal TSFI. We're going to have to look into this. I might even add this to my thing here. So the Don legal TSFI. I'm not going to forget that. I'm going to add that to my chart. After. So yeah, so I've got my approximate area here where I'm thinking it's approximately going to get here. So I make that call. It's going to approximately get here. Then I'm reading Twitter. I'm reading my own feelings. I'm like, I'm getting way too euphoric. When I'm feeling euphoric, everybody else is also feeling euphoric. And that's when people are starting to take profits. That's where the disciplined people are starting to take profits. And that's where the reverse comes in. Why? Because of the liquidity. The liquidity is so thin still compared to the total supply. So it doesn't take a lot for it to go down. I mean, if you think about how much the Moon King would have, like, you know, the Moon King would only have to sell like probably 1% of his pDAI holdings, and that's probably what can make it go down. So then I'm looking at all the liquidity flows between the different ratios, and it's like, okay, this is the top. So I said, okay, this is probably a top. So how am I going to pick the next local top? So I'm going to use exactly the same process. So first, go to the local bottom, which is here. So this was the bottom. And so looking at the area between 2.68 and 3.68, which happens to be, which is perfect, by the way, which is very perfect, between 8.5 cents basically. And let's just zoom in a little bit. Basically, oh, hang on, if I click it, will it give me? No, it doesn't do that. So 8.7 cents and 1.2 cents. 8.7 cents and 10 point, or yeah, basically like 12 cents, right? So that's perfect because the 10 cent, that's when it then takes away another zero. So that's another big, psychological level. So you had the 1 cent mark. So for me, I'll be looking at whenever this is going to get to the 10 cent mark, I'm thinking, maybe it's going to overshoot. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know what it's going to do. So then I'll just do exactly what I did here. I'm going to treat this as a prediction. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to think it's going to drop somewhere within this region. And then I'm going to measure what's actually happening. Oh, nice. Wow, pDAI, I didn't even see this today. So it's almost back to 2 cents. So it's really rejected these levels. So it's pulling down, but it's really rejected these levels. So this is very bullish from Moon King's TA, because you can see here it's pulled back to this level. Well, we can have a look at this level here with the fib. It's pulled back, it's pushed through, pumped back down, retested it, tested it, pushed through, pulled back down. So this is like a really key level. So the fact that it's kind of looking like it's rejecting this key level is a great sign. Surely this dismissal is anywhere around the corner. So I'm looking around this level between these two fib levels. So around the 10 cent mark, it's a big psychological level. So I'm looking at around those levels. Where is it? Here we go. So whatever's going to happen, something like this. Then I would expect there to be some kind of a pullback. I don't know how big that pullback is going to be. This is where it's going to start to get tricky, because for me, I think we've got like 3 to 6 months of the bull market. So I saw Bobby Lucas, Uncle Bobby Lucas, Somi's uncle, basically was saying like 3 to 6 months for the bull market. I was glad to see that, because that's also how I feel. By the typical market cycles, it's supposed to be like another like 9 to 12 months, but I don't think it's going to last that long because everybody now knows that people are front running each other. The previous market was shorter. There was no blow off top on Bitcoin. So I'm also anticipating it's going to be a similar scenario this bull market. Even though we have all these things which is going to make us think this is going to go forever, it's not. It never does. The money does run out it's going to run out. It's going to stop flowing in, and it's going to be when it's just like, oh, this is just going to keep going forever. That's when it's probably going to stop. That point could also have been now. We don't know, but I just don't think it is now. I think it's still too early, but there's going to be a lot of front running. So we're really entering into like a parabolic thing. So if pDAI is going to get to $1 within this particular cycle, it's going to need to start moving fast. And so obviously, in the same way that once you start getting into that parabolic stage, the length of time from high to low, 3 months. Length of time from, low to high was 3 months. Low to high was 3 months. Low to high here it was a lot less. So the low here was 1st of August and the high was 1st of December. So August, September, October. Oh, so what? When was the actual low? Was that the actual low or was this the low? Which is the actual low? Man, maybe more like this. So September, October, November. So probably more like this. Which is the actual low? 1, 2, 4, 6. Wow, I mean that's the actual low, but this was like, okay, that was the actual low, but this was where things started reversing based on all my other indicators. So it was still about 3 months. I don't think it's going to take 3 months for it to get to its next local top. I think it'll get there faster because we're entering into like this higher increased momentum in the bull market. So that also means the pullbacks are going to get smaller. So if you look at the pullbacks here, so the reason why I'm sharing this, I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but the reason why I'm sharing this is you might want to take advantage. Like you just like, maybe I will. I'm just going to talk like, okay, this is what I'm going to do because, yeah, not financial advice and all that. So this did a 91% drop. Then we had another 86% drop. And assuming this was the bottom, for me, it's like pretty clear that this was the bottom. So 75% drop. It's getting less and less. So in other words, when it gets to, let's say it gets to this 11-cent mark, it might only be like a 60% drop, 50% drop, 50, 60% drop. And it might be very quick. This went from basically the start of December till, I would say that this is the true bottom, even though this wick is the bottom. I still say this is the true bottom where it kind of was really like the sign of the reversal. So basically a month and a half. So the time is halved. So then therefore I would say probably, yeah, between a month and a half. So what are we now? So a month and a half. So February. So maybe by the end of February or just before the end of February could be the next local top. It might go to 10 cents. It might drop just before. It might drop just after. That's where I'm going to be keeping a very, very close eye on my charts. Very, very close eye on the liquidity routes. The one that I'm going to be keeping my biggest eye on is this. This candle was like a dead giveaway for a top. All this volume on Atropa to die. So this is the Atropa to pDAI. Look at this gigantic volume. I didn't see this. I had a different Atropa to pDAI chart. I had a V2. I had the V2 one. I don't think the V2 one had this candle here. So if I had seen that, if I see another candle like that when we get to 10 cents, I'm going to be like, right, that's the top, and I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna sell, and I'm gonna hopefully pick some up maybe on a 50% dip. So if it gets to like maybe like 9.9 cents. And we have this big candle, I'm going to sell and then maybe pick some more up at 6 cents. And then, hey, I can get 30% extra. I don't know if I'd risk like waiting for it to drop exactly 50% or exactly 60%. I'm going to wait for it to get to the 5 cent mark. Like the front running now is going to be crazy. As this gets closer and closer to the dollar mark, it's the certainty bias. This is where the certainty bias is going to start taking off. As it gets closer and closer, the doubters are being converted into believers. And so the spectrum of doubters increases into the spectrum of believers. So here it's just like basically like crackpots, people that are like seeing something and like, okay, what's going on here? And they're the believers. They've carried it. And then the next wave of believers come in this area here. They're like, okay, something's happened here. Like, what happened here? Then the next wave comes here. Then the next wave is here. You know, Ivan on tech. Then probably another wave is going to be on here. Maybe altcoin, maybe Rand Noon is going to be like, oh, hang on a minute. What's actually going on here? So the velocity is going to increase. And so as it gets closer and closer to the dollar, there's going to be more and more front running. So here, besides the Interpol FUD, it didn't really get, it just got up just below the 1 cent mark. So I would say like maybe the 5 cent mark. I wouldn't wait to the 5 cent mark. I might wait for like just a 20% drop or a 30% drop. And I just increase my bag by 20 or 30%. Don't have to be like greedy and get the full 50% move or the full 60% move to like, you know, add 50% to my bag. Like it'd be too risky. This is where trading sucks. So this is where I really have to decide, do I want to trade? Do I want to be someone that goes, all right, I'm happy with my million pDAI. I'm just going to hold on to that. I don't want to lose any of that million pDAI. Or do I want to be someone that says, you know what, I want to try and grow that million into 2 million by the end of this? Those are the decisions where I really have to think about this very fast. I need to write out a plan. So then when it gets to this point, there is no thinking involved. It's really just, okay, execute the plan. If A, B, C, D, then do this. That's what it needs to be. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. So I like Moon King, but he's a trader. He is not left with a lot of trust. Yeah, I mean, but he's upfront about it, right? That's what I like about the Moon King. He doesn't pretend to be someone that he's not. That's what I love about the Moon King. He's telling you what he's doing and what he's about. He's not pretending like, you know, you get these pretenders who pretend like they're not trading, but they're like dumping on their followers. It's like he's telling you what he's doing. So I have no problem there. So next move, it's Atropa $1 and pDAI 7 cents. The next move, it's Atropa $1 and pDAI 7 cents. So the Don, you reckon 7 cents? So okay, interesting. I think 7 cents is probably going to be a little, like maybe that's the next like little pump. Maybe there'll be like a little pullback. For me, I consider, okay, my chart's probably getting a little bit complicated now. By the way, what's going on, bud? Chart's getting a little complicated now, but if I just really simplify this, so just ignore these green arrows. I want to keep them here for now, but I'd say like this is a pump up, one pump up. So this is what I'm talking about. Then a pump down. So this is bull, bear, bull, and then bear. Then we had a bull. So I'm talking about like big, I guess, if you're an Elliott wave trader, you'd be like, okay, maybe this is A, B, C, D, or this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't really know. I don't know too much about Elliott waves. I only know the basics. Now we've had the bear. Now I'm looking at the bull, the next bull. So we could have maybe 7 cents, like the Don says. If we look at this, maybe 7 cents is like this. But I'm looking at the local top, like the big pump up. So I'm looking at the 10 cent here. So that's what I'm looking at. So yeah. I'll just make these green so it's pretty clear. Got to be the right green. All right, so this is how I'm thinking. So this chart's starting to get reasonably complicated, but it looks beautiful. It really looks beautiful, and I like it. It makes me happy. It makes me happy when I draw pretty things, and pretty things are being pictographically represented. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know what you guys think. So anyway. Diversify, what's going on? I've been eating those ratios up and minting all afternoon. Nice, man. So you must be talking about the Fed and Treasury bill, and there's so many opportunities there. So local top, 12 cents, easy. The Don. You know what? I like your thinking with that. I think it's going to overshoot rather than undershoot because now we're entering into the velocity. So before it got to the 1 cent, it's still like, okay, the 1 cent is coming. It's like energetically, there's still a lot of doubt in the market, and the doubters outweigh the believers. So there's people that are going to be like, is this really going to get to $1? It's almost 1 cent. I'm going to start selling. Whereas now we're getting like closer where we've confidently pushed past that 1 cent now. So now it's like, once we get to the 10 cent, I don't think it's going to undershoot and sell before. I think it's going to overshoot, which is an expression of the energy and the vibe behind it, which is increased bullishness. So I think it's going to overshoot past 10 cents, but I still think it's going to dump at 10 cents. There's people take profits on the way up as well. And there's people that say that they believe in this narrative. Yeah, pDAI is going to get to $1, but they're going to be taking profits all the way along. If they really, truly 100% believe, they're not going to take any profits all the way along. They also could be traders where they want to accumulate more bags. So what's the deal with Visa? Visa Atropa Eco. So I don't really know. All I can say about Visa is, so this is where I was talking about the Fed before, where this really could, I don't know what Maria's cooking. So Visa, I already had it on Visa. Gosh darn. So this is Visa, where, okay, right, sure. You look at this and you're like, ooh, yeah, there's like 123 billion Fed. Like, can it really get to $1? I don't know about that. There's, what was it? Treasury bill. There's 134 billion treasury bill. Can it really get to $1? But yeah, I mean, there's all these protocols that you can burn it. So if these ratios just get pushed far, it could just burn this in the hundreds of millions, for example, which would decrease the supply by billions. For example, that could be one thing that could end up happening with these markets that evolve around these tokens. And then Visa is one example of how you can burn Fed. So it's very, 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 very slow to do this. You can only do one at a time. So unlike the others, you can add the number that you can do with this. It's actually profitable to do this at the moment, burning 24 Fed for one Visa. But yeah, basically you're making 0.01 cent, and this doesn't account for the gas. So it's kind of not profitable at the same time. So because you can only do one at a time, what you could do is you could actually build a bot to do this. Maybe this is something that I'll try and work on with the Minter, the Affection Minter bot. I might try and like manipulate that in some way to take advantage of some of these opportunities. But yeah, this obviously at the moment, Visa is a way that you can burn the Fed. So Maria could end up doing what's something like what's something like maybe should I don't know if I should say this and if it's politically correct. Maybe he makes like a Ukraine token and Ukraine burns the Fed. So you burn like billions of dollars of the federal money and you burn it into Ukraine, for example. He might do something like this. I don't know. Like this is maybe that's a joke in poor taste, but I know that's a big topic in America now where they're like really upset with all this money that gets wasted in Ukraine. They probably consider it as their money just being burnt. So maybe he does something like this. I don't know. He might do something as a way of really reducing that supply down. So for me, it's like, okay, this is his first like sign that this is possible. He could do anything. So all I want to do is I'm looking at this as like this new branch in the Atropa ecosystem, which started to get Treasury Bill was one of the very first tokens. It was one of the very first tokens. It was in like the first 20 tokens that got created, Treasury Bill. So he's had a plan for it all this time. Now he's started to build out this branch of the Treasury Bill. So in the same way that we've seen the Atropa price performance just be ridiculous based on the liquidity bonding, based on the way that he's built out this whole ecosystem, I would expect possibly something similar to happen with this whole ecosystem that he's building out with it now. So the way that I'm looking at it is I'm not going to fade Maria. I want to be early. I was late with the Atropa ecosystem. I got in like 6 months or like maybe three to 5 months late. I can't really remember. So I don't want to be late on this. I want to be early. So these are all brand new. So the Fed obviously is just a couple of months old, less than, it's like a month and a half old. These are even younger. So, they're all the same. So this is 16th. So yeah, they're a month and a half old. So for me, taking advantage of this ASAP. Yeah, and I don't know. I can see that building a bot for this as well could be something that would be like insanely good. So in the same way that you have basically the affection bot, his affection bot, basically not Helios's affection bot. This is what it does. So it's like a multi burner. So basically all of these tokens, so PFP Independence, Gimme 5, Libatropa, you buy pDAI with those tokens, and then you burn those tokens to mint affection. Or I think, well, you buy pDAI. So basically you buy with pDAI. So you burn 300 pDAI to get 1p independence, and then you burn the p independence to mint the affection. So basically burn the DAI to mint the p independence, burn the p independence to mint the affections. So what he's done, he's created a bot that does all of that in just one bot. And so he's created the code for that. So you could probably, oh man, I just wish I wish there was more hours in the day. Like, sleep sucks. It sucks. It's such a waste of time. You just sit there with your head on a pillow and time goes by. It sucks. It's such a waste of time. I wish I didn't have to sleep, because these are some things that I'd probably learn to try and do. And I have scrambled around with manipulating that and with that, but I want to like scramble around with possibly even using it. I don't even need to understand the full code. I might just be able to manipulate his current code with all this treasury bill stuff to make a bot that does that. And so you could just have that bot running all the time, and anytime you basically got the bot to say, if it's ever down here, then burn your treasury bill and then into Mufti and buy it back. And so you would just make a bot that does this with all of them, with all the ones with treasury bills. So yeah, that could end up being like a really, really profitable idea in the future, because we don't know what kind of thing he's going to build around this. So it is reasonably complex, but I guess just take it back to the very, very basics, of the ratio. It should be 1-to-1. You can see that it's gravitating 1-to-1. You can see with all of these, they also all gravitate to the 1-to-1. So the code is 1-to-1. By the code, it's gravitating to the 1-to-1. But the market, because of the market that's formed around it, it's not 1-to-1. So over time, over a long period of time, just like some of the ratios we saw yesterday with like BFF and pDAI, it's almost like at the start, as they kind of establish some kind of a market that basically like takes control over it, eventually it's going to become more like this eventually. So yeah, I would say they're all going to do something like this. They're going to become like stabilized. They should be stable. So these are all 1-to-1. Okay, I'm going to just go through these last few comments. If you mint Visa, then sell it for Fed. You help bring the ratio down. At the moment, you get like 5,000 Fed per Visa. Wow. Okay. That's interesting, but you burn 24 Fed to get 1 Visa. There you go, diversify. So these are the arbitrage opportunities. So there's one right there. There's a brilliant arbitrage opportunity right there. Well, it's kind of like an arbitrage opportunity. You're burning 24 Fed to get 1 Visa, and then you're swapping that 1 Visa back into 5,000 Fed. So you've basically got whatever that is. You've got 4 times a lot. Yeah, 4 times 100 times 10, 40. No, yeah, 40 times 5. So you would have like you're getting 200 times more, I think. So 200 times more Fed by doing that. That's interesting. That's really interesting, actually. So yeah, these are just like these little markets that Maria's creating out of nothing, creating like supply and demand out of literally nothing. But this is the beauty, because this is what the traditional financial system does. Like, it's all just, oh yeah, there's going to be a war now, so we should, oh, wink, wink, there's going to be a war now, so let's rotate. I mean, let's buy gold because gold is a safe haven. But the wars just like continue to go on forever. But then you just really start hearing about it when gold prices start going up, because we've been fighting more now in the last 100 years than we have in like the previous thousands of years, the amounts of wars that we have with different countries and crap. So it's all just a bunch of BS. So basically all it is they're basically trying to invent narratives to get liquidity flows. So what we're doing here is we're not inventing narratives. We're not hurting anyone. We're just, or Maria's not doing any of that. It's just basically creating demand through the blockchain by these different ratios and these different setups. So it makes it extremely and extraordinarily interesting. So What does that mean for the future? Again, this is why I'm just like, really think about that concept and the magnitude of that concept. I mean, that's if you believe what I believe about the traditional financial system, that it's all just like a gigantic Ponzi. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, the liquidity is going to flow from here to real estate. And then real estate has like a bubble top. And then basically all it is really like, oh, it's because of, I don't know, some like, I don't even know what's a reason that would equal some sort of bubble. Oh, like, okay, even with the Nvidia thing, right? It's all just bollocks. Like, Nvidia just has this ridiculous run up, ridiculous run up. That's just, why the hell is it valued this much? It's just insane. And then the Chinese invent an AI, like, whoop-de-doo. Oh, it doesn't need GPU and it was created for $6 million. And then all of a sudden, Nvidia drops. So it's almost just like, it's just all these pathetic reasons to make things pump and dump. So I just think the whole like global financial system works like that. All the different asset classes, bonds, stocks, it's all just the same thing. And it'll reach a certain top and it's like, okay, well, the ratio of like the S&P 500 now, so basically S&P 500 just continuous Ponzi up and to the right. But then contrary to that, I don't know, what's an asset that it will get rotated in? As this is happening, basically the liquidity is flowing out of, at the same time, I don't know, bonds or something like this. And then bonds keeps falling out. So the liquidity from bonds is going into this. Then all of a sudden this will get like a ridiculous top and this will be like ridiculous value. And it's just like, oh, COVID-19, oh God. And then all of a sudden, all that liquidity flows back into here. And then basically the stock market starts going down and then the bond starts going up. And that's some real conspiracy if you think like COVID-19, but that's maybe a bad example. COVID-19, I don't know how real it was. I don't really care, but it's what I saw in Forex. So I imagine how it happens on the minor scale is how it happens on the large scale as well. It's all just like creating these narratives to keep the engine going by flowing the liquidity around the system. But we're doing that. So if this is happening in the global financial system, but we're doing this on the blockchain, we're creating that concept on the blockchain with this range of different tokens. What does that mean for a potential future? If this ends up being superior mathematically to the global financial system, really think about what that means. In the same way that, like, I'm thinking big. I'm thinking big in the same way that I was just doing like the stock market like this and the bonds like this, and then eventually there's like some kind of a reversal. I'm thinking like TradFi like this, and then eventually, like over time, maybe TradFi like this, and then crypto more and more and more and more and more is going like this, and TradFi is more and more and more like this. And so if we have a superior system here where the math and the logic is better than anything that's in TradFi, a lot less risk, a lot more certainty, just really think about the magnitude of it. That's the kind of, maybe because I'm sometimes like euphorically bipolar, maybe my mind is just like, yeah, but that's the magnitude that I'm thinking of this as. So sleep is boring, but it's how we program. Might as well enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, that's true. So sorry I'm late, man. What have I missed regarding Fed? I had LP the T-bill Fed pool and woke up today to Fed being minus 99%. Yeah, so Jay, I guess maybe go back to the start of the stream. So the start of the stream, I covered a lot of that. But yeah, basically there was a big sell with the Fed, which is good for you because that would have gone into your liquidity. So no problem. But obviously your ratio now that you would have provided liquidity for is like way out of whack. It'll be way out of whack. So if you had like, yeah, if you did like 1,000 and 1,000, you would basically, if you put 1,000 and 1,000 on each side here, it would be more like more like 20,000 and 2 up here. So yeah, it'll be way crazy. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. But yeah, so now people are really bringing this down and selling it into the Fed because really it should be 1-to-1 by the code. That's how I'm looking at this. So How do you even figure this stuff out? Burning to get Visa and then Ashish, y'all are very intelligent. Not really, man. Well, I mean, there's this, and it's just over time, just continuously. It's like it's a story that's built up over my mind over time. It's not something that I was able to grasp easily. Let me tell you that. So being in places like Sonny's Pub, being in different alpha groups, messing around with this stuff myself, like actually doing it myself. That's the thing. Nobody's like clicking these buttons. Like I've showed this website so many times. I don't know how many people are using it. I love it. I'll be on here regularly, like clicking buttons. I do the same with XUSD. There's all these little cheeky little opportunities where you can just click buttons and get little arbitrages here and there, like just stuffing around with it, and then it starts to click in your mind. So the 24-hour time frame after SEC dismisses can possibly be the best time to trim your profits. Oh, that's a good point, Crypto Artie. That's a really good point. We could get the opposite of the Interpol FUD, where there was like this big wick down. We could get the opposite of that with a big wick up. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. So this chart is getting now very messy. So do I sell my Visa, and is it even just a token at that point? It seems so much deeper, or maybe I'm just a noob. I mean, at the moment, it is just a token. They're just tokens with names assigned to them, but the tokens and the names are representative of something. That's the thing. So I mean, what's Visa? Visa is a credit card. So maybe the relationship of the Federal Reserve with the credit system is what the relationship between the Fed and Visa is supposed to be. For example, I don't really know. I don't have a deep enough understanding, but I don't think it's like I don't think it's arbitrary. So, I mean, the Treasury bill, he can mint Treasury bills. So he can, just like you can, mint bills at a mint. That's how it happens. So somebody dumped like, yeah, exactly. So 8K. AOKG, it does seem there is something deeper going on with these pairs. This is the thing, exactly. So if it does go back to 1-to-1, then you can swap that back into Treasury bills. So then if you think about that as like a dollar stable coin, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Is Dysnomia a video game? What the heck is going on? It's supposed to be some kind of like a text-based game. And so he's still building that out. So at the moment, there's the chat log front end, but that's it. But it's supposed to be some kind of like mud-based text game where you PvP against each other. Sell any of Maria's tokens. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up with these comments. I pulled my LP, so now I have an absolute mountain of Fed. If the ratio returns to 1-to-1, it'll be insane. Yeah, that's one way to play it. That's one way to play it. So you could pull your LP and do that. And then when it gets back to that point, you would swap and then add it back into LP. And then you've basically like really crazily ratcheted up your tokens. Or you could just leave it in LP, because people now, like the volume that's going to flow through it is going to be huge. So I don't want to take it out of it. I wouldn't take it out of LP. I would just leave it in LP and then just like buy with fresh Treasury bill. That would make more sense to me. So you can just wait, and it should go back to 1-to-1 over time. Just got to wait it out. Yeah, this is what I'm kind of hoping for. What's going on, Mac? I'm in love with the cocoa, man. You know, I got this stuffy nose, and I'm in love with the cocoa. Too many cocoa lines, boys. You know, just before I get on stream. I had an antihistamine today, so it's definitely a little bit less, and I've blown the crap out of this microphone. So anyway, all right, I'm going to leave it at this. Thanks, Stephen. Oh, my God, man, you're the best, bro. Lock in AOKG. Keep learning, brother. Keep learning with us. The Fed contracts. So in the link to my description is the Atropa contracts. So go to the Atropa contracts and just scroll your way through there. I think it was created on the 16th of December. So yeah, always use that and look through there. I don't like giving contract addresses because I really want people to learn for themselves, because otherwise I'll just be endlessly giving people contract addresses. But if you can learn how to do it and become self-sufficient, then you can also teach others, because that's what we should be doing. That's what the Atropa ecosystem is about for me. It's like helping each other, helping the boys, gratefully building out this new financial system and doing it together. because when we do it together, we win together. Coexistence is the way, baby. Coexistence is the name of the game. Coexistence. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Take care and have a good night. Have a good evening. And for my XUSD fam, new epoch in